the goalkeeper battle is also either heating up or slowing down. At this point, it honestly seems like a bit of a turtle derby between Dayne St and Maxime Crépeau, and the Florida moves have just not gone well so far for the Canadian goalkeepers. With Miami, Dayne St doesn't look like he necessarily fits their system. He's picked up a win against DC this last week, but that's a DC team that isn't particularly an MLS contender. He looked terrible against Orlando, and he struggled against LAFC in that first game as well. And then Maxime Crépeau has been bad. I mean, I don't think there's any two ways you can put about it. Orlando City has looked bad as a team. They have 3 losses. They just fired Oscar Perea as head coach. And Maxime Crépeau gets a red card for handling the ball outside the box. And I know it's at Yankee Stadium, and that's going to be a different type of field, but the box is still the same size. And it just seemed like a bit of a brain fart for him, and it's not gone well for him in Orlando. What's been your reaction to this, turtle derby that is becoming the Canadian goalkeeper race that at one point seemed so feisty between these two goalkeepers?
I'm trying not to panic, to be honest. And I mean, you do want to give them some grace because it's a brand new scenario. Both of them are in completely different situations. You know that Max Crépeau has really wanted to succeed and prove himself and show well. And it's been a minute since he's been a trusted starting goalkeeper. You talk about Dayne St not fitting their system. Look, Miami's system is give it to the talented guys and let's outscore everybody. Like they don't really have, I think, a formulaic system that provides any type of comfort or any real rigidity that you could slot into and make routine. And we do know that Dayne St from the way that he's talked about his mental preparations and just his mental strength and fortitude and focus, that he does very much seem a creature of habit and routine, which I don't think exists in Miami just in general at all. City, club, certainly with that team. So I think that's, I do think that there's a factor and an element there. At the same time, I'm very surprised that both have had the struggles that they have had. It's still very, very early. Perhaps a coaching change in Orlando will be very good for that squad overall and beneficial to Max Crépeau, but definitely worrying to see this start because I think we all thought that Miami and Orlando were really good situations for guys who deserved good situations and new opportunities, and it's not worked out so far, but it is still early, Alex.
Yeah, I think for both, it's not great. I will give the slight edge to St. Clair at the moment, and I'll explain why. One thing though, just on Crépeau, he's a good example of why I'm worried about Bombito, because the way Crépeau plays is kind of very similar in the sense it's aggressive. It's off his line. It's a lot of split-second decisions. That's how he broke his leg, because he came flying off his line and makes that decision to go in. What happens is when he loses rhythm, you have moments like this where maybe if he's firing, he doesn't handle the ball outside his box. But when you're not that sharp, even you hesitate. Like it's something where he's probably not even thinking it. Like it's a subconscious hesitation. You make an error that you're getting a red card. That's the way he's playing. That's always on edge. So for him, you just hope he gets sharpness. Of course, Oscar Perea is out at Orlando. You hope that Crépeau just keeps his spot first and foremost with the coaching change, because if that's the case, I think that could benefit everyone, because it clearly wasn't working under Perea anyways, and there's a good squad there, I believe, in Orlando. But as for Dayne St, what really shocked me is he hasn't looked great by the eye test. There's no kidding. But did you know he's actually overperforming his expected goals against right now as a goalkeeper? I know some might roll their eyes and whatnot, but it just shows, and it's something we've said, it's not easy being behind that Miami backline right now. So I'll cut him a little more slack because he's adjusting to this system that plays wide open, and he's actually done exactly what you've expected. I'm not going to fault, like if he was severely underperforming his XG, it's a different story, because you're thinking, okay, you're behind a great team, you're leaking chances. The reality is Miami's leaking chances and he's been average. The thing is, for St. Clair, they didn't sign him to be average. That's why they're being hard on him, and I think that's fair, because he made such a risky move in the sense that he could have gone anywhere. He could have even stayed at Minnesota and he would have been okay. It's the fact you go to Miami, you're putting pressure on yourself. You're putting a spotlight. So you're just average isn't going to cut it. But I will cut him some slack 'cause it's the first few games. With goalkeepers, it takes time. So that's why I'd put him a slightly ahead of Crépeau in that regard. But the same things I said for St. Clair are there for Crépeau. He's adjusting to his system. He's finding his form. I think the frustrating thing is for Jesse Marsch is he probably wanted an answer by this March window. And I just think with where they're at, I don't think he'll be able to find one, because it's just there hasn't been a clear split. And the thing is, too, what I think makes this hard, we don't know how he's going to do a tie, right? Like, I don't know his tie goes to a runner or a defender. Like, I don't know what his version is, because if it's safety, you go Crépeau because he knows the team and he's got more caps. But if you go on form, it continues to be St. Clair for a while. What's Jesse Marsch's tiebreaker? We don't really know. And I think that's also something that doesn't give us a whole lot of clarity on the situation.
I mean, maybe this is the answer, and there's no number one. Maybe you treat the group stage as you have most international windows, where you give maybe the first game to St. Clair, second game to Crépeau, third game, coin flip. Maybe that's the way it goes, and we don't have an answer to this question, and maybe we don't need an answer to this question, Brendan.
I think I would be more comfortable in that situation if both of them were in the form that had them in this debate for the last year and a half, that both of them were in good form, and even when Max Crépeau wasn't playing for Portland, he was still playing very well for Canada, right? That isn't the scenario now. I don't think I'd feel comfortable with two goalkeepers who seem to be in poor form and not at their best and rotating in between because you can't pick one. I mean, I think that'd be a really difficult scenario. And to be honest, if they're in that situation come May and you've got Owen Goodman or Hibbert in the camp, I think you might be talking about, okay, we got to go with the best informed guy right now. And that might be a huge, leapfrog for that third goalkeeper, who, whichever pair of hands it might be, it could be Pantemis or Sirois if he's hot for all I know. And I mean, that would be a stunning turn of events and a real drop. I don't hate the idea of the tandem between the two of them and not a definitive number one. I really don't think that Milan Borjan was as definitive a number one as we all treated, and John Herdman certainly treated Qatar 4 years ago. But now to rotate between the two of them, who are having really, really poor club seasons in Florida, I wouldn't like that idea.
I mean, if you do have a tandem, and with games in Toronto and Vancouver, I mean, it's not the first time these cities have dealt with goalkeeping tandems or goalkeeping controversies. So maybe it is fitting for the World Cup in these two cities.
Yeah, it has been a long time since either of those cities have been successful, though, those hockey teams you're talking about. And success is beyond getting to the second round, I would say. And yes, exactly.
Well, the thing is, your idea is not a bad one in principle. I just think it's less the form, it's just the difference in the goalkeepers. Like, I think they're too different, because I think when you put Crépeau in net versus when you get St. Clair net, you're just playing a different game. You're defending different because they play differently. We know how good St. Clair can be a bit deeper in his net because he's such a big body. He doesn't have to be as aggressive as Crépeau is because he's small, so he has to close down those angles. Of course, how loud, how aggressive Crépeau is in certain ways. Even ball at feet, they're just different kinds of players. One's a righty, one's a lefty. Crépeau really likes the shorter passes. We know St. Clair can hoof the ball very far up the field. Like, had they been two very similar goalkeepers, maybe that's the case. But the reality is, when there's such stylistic differences, there's a reason why teams who have had some serious goalkeeper issues, like, for example, what the heck is Spain going to do this summer when you've got all these different goalkeepers playing? David Raya, obviously a big one at Arsenal, but they love Unai Simon. And then, man, how good, has the Barcelona keeper been this year? Juan Garcia. And Robert Sanchez is going to be in that mix. But all of them are such vastly different goalkeepers, and what you're going to see is they're just going to go for what they prefer. And for, in recent tournaments, they've left out some of their better performing goalkeepers because they've liked Unai Simon. For Canada, they're going to have to just figure out. I think that's something that maybe has been ignored in this discussion. I think something that maybe Jesse Marsch has kind of struggled to reckon with. As much as he'll want to pick the informed goalkeeper, at a certain point, he's just going to have to pick what goalkeeper fits his team best. Because sometimes that will make up for whoever is more informed and whoever is in that regard. And I think that's why we won't see a goalkeeper tandem in this summer. To your point, Brendan, about potentially throwing in other goalkeepers, I think why it comes down to Crépeau and St. Clair is just, I don't think we've seen enough from other goalkeepers to fit that mold either. Like, James Pantemis has been solid, but he's good sitting deep in his net, very old school goalkeeper. He's never been comfortable with the ball at his feet. You look at some of the other guys, same thing. There isn't really a aggressive goalkeeper that's going to come in and really make you change that discussion. So it feels like it's going to come down to St. Clair or Crépeau in that regard, and we'll see how Jesse Marsch makes that decision.